I found interesting just how vicious people are in the comment section on this article because, believe it or not, the dailymail.cock, they still allow people to voice their concerns in the comment section, which is surprisingly rare today. But the question is, like, why are people upset? I mean, this doesn't reveal that much. It basically talks about the terrible twos. This is how I first heard about it. It's when you have a child, the first 2 years are the most difficult. And after that, people start getting used to it. But I think the reason people are upset is because the mainstream media has publicly announced that they're editorializing content, right? Like, they will only show some studies to the public. Like, for example, there were cases of transgender remorse, where people who transitioned regretted that. And a lot of mainstream media outlets refused to publicize that. So the moment you decide to become like this type of editor, and you're not deciding to not show cases because or studies because people aren't interested in reading them, because that would be a valid reason, right? You can only talk about so much on your website, and you want to make sure that the things you talk about are going to be read and shared by people. So if you think that something isn't of public interest, then that's fair. But no, they're doing it for ideological reasons. And when you have examples of this, when the mainstream media refuses to cover something, then people start wondering, it's like, okay, but why are you covering this then? And there is a trend right now I have seen, especially with the climate activists, that they don't want people to have children. And this is why people are so upset, because they view this news article in a way that the mainstream media is trying to manipulate them into convincing them that having children is bad. And you need to live a selfish lifestyle. And the problem with this is twofold, right? Like, number one, it is selfish because your parents, when they had you, had to dedicate their resources and their effort in order to raising you upright. But the second is, like, when you're a young person, you don't really realize that you're going to get old at some point. And a lot more people don't realize that eventually your family is going to pass away. I mean, I lost my mother last year, and it's very painful. But it makes you understand that it's normal. It's part of life. And eventually I'm going to lose my father as well. And I won't have any family besides my wife and the other family that I decide to make. So do you really want to be at your golden years, when you're at the age of Joe Biden, just alone in your house with no one to help you, with no one to take care of you? When you have Christmas, there's no one to visit. When you have a Thanksgiving, there's no one there. You know, a lot of people are saying, well, I don't like Christmas anyway, or I don't like Thanksgiving anyway, so who cares? And you're thinking about it because now you do have it. But imagine this, imagine when the power goes out and you have no electricity. Imagine like how panicked you are because you don't have electricity. Because up until then, you take it for granted because it's always there. But now you don't have it. It's kind of like asking a person, it's like, hey, do you value electricity? And he goes like, nah, I'm good. I just want to read the book. And I have my phone charged and everything is fine. I don't need any electric sockets. The only reason they're saying that is because they know there's electricity running. But the moment electricity isn't running, like, you may be, for a while, you may be fine with it, up until you actually start needing it, and then you realize that, oh shit, I've been taking it for granted. So they're basically talking about this, how, it's so difficult for a father, and I'm thinking like, well, how did so many dads before us manage to do it then? Because raising a kid is not something that we've been doing since last decade. I assume people have been doing it longer since, and for some reason, all of a sudden, well, no, actually, it's really difficult. And they're not even talking about, like, having multiple kids. Because there are rural families that had like 10, 15. No, they're talking about like having one child. And look at the pictures they're showing, right? Like the father is, oh God, I'm having a child. Oh, look, oh no. Like literally all the pictures that they're displaying are with this. Look, the father is exhausted. Oh God. And it's interesting because like they don't do the same with a guy watching a movie where they inject woke politics in it. Like this is how I am. When I watch a TV show or play a video game, and all of a sudden the woke message comes in, and it's very preachy, I've heard it 1,000 times, I know what it's going to say, and this is the face that why can't we write articles about that, huh? Or when you watch a commercial, you watch a Gillette commercial, and Instead of like showing you how good the razor is, they're telling you how evil men are, and they're talking about toxic masculinity. Because this is exactly the expression that I make. Why don't we get articles about that, huh? Yeah, life is hard. What can I say? Everything that's worth accomplishing is difficult. Like, being a good father is difficult. And being a good father doesn't just mean, like, making the child. It also means raising the child. So yeah, it's a very difficult task. I can understand why many men would be like this. But to see this in the newspapers and, to just have, like, these thumbnails and these pictures in order to try to instill a certain emotion into people, right? Because the article isn't about how you can cope with this. The article is like, oh, well, it's actually really difficult. It's very bad. It's super nasty. Like, the study shows 606 fathers, like, for 2 years they had problem in their relationship, and it was so difficult for them to get their happiness back, and blah blah blah. And they say common things, like they will say, well, yeah, but like the second child is easier. And I'm thinking, yeah, no fucking shit. Like, none of this is something that requires a doctor in a lab coat to figure out. Like, what does having a child mean? It means that you have, like, another human being that shits, farts, and burps all the time, right? And it wakes you up during the middle of the night. I can assume that's not pleasant. And after a while, you get used to it. And by the time you have the second one, I guess you already know what to expect. Like, you're already into your routine. You know exactly what's happening. You know exactly how to take care of it. But the first time is difficult. Yeah, I don't need a study in order to tell me this. So they say that second-time fathers, the satisfaction improved after 2 months and kept on improving. It's possible that the first-time fathers show a steeper decline in relationship satisfaction after birth due to the shock of experiencing parenthood. I love how they're saying it's possible. It's not possible. It's literally the reason. Like, you don't need a scientist to tell you this. Yeah, and by the way, like, this isn't the only article that came up. I know that people from my Subscribestar asked me to talk about it, which is why I am. But you get to see, like, one of these per week. Pretty much. It's like, don't have kids. And people understand the hypocrisy, right? Because it's coming from the climate activists, mostly. Like, they're the ones that are saying don't have kids. But at the same time, it's like, well, let's get more refugees because people aren't having children and Europe is dying without kids. And I'm like, okay, so we use someone else's children then? Like, is that what's moral and right? Is that what we're doing? Anyway, right. Let me know what you guys think. And as usual, I will see you in the comment section. Take care.